Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's main watering day today, even though some things are only just going to get the surface sprayed. But as I go round, I'll have a look at the start of the decision-making process of rationalising my plants. And on the rationalising front, this one is going nowhere. I've had 2 Shelob Tolkiens, and I've never seen one as good as this. Go on, shoot me down, put a video up of a better one. I don't mind, I love seeing good plants, but as Oncidium types go, I mean, this is Miltassia, so there's some Brassia in there. That's where the size of the pseudobulbs come from. And probably Miltonia. It won't be Miltoniopsis, it'll be Miltonia. And probably the name's changed. But as Oncidium types go, this is a very good plant. Now, I haven't repotted this yet, which is naughty of me. It's still in this coconut muck. But I've got used to watering with that stuff. And it is a case of, you know, my normal nice airy bark with lots of air spaces and everything, I can pour water through the pot. And the majority of it comes straight out the bottom. So it's not soaking wet, really. This stuff, boy, does this hold water. So to water this, I just put a gentle trickle round the top and it soaks down through the pot. And I have to use weight as part of my judgment. And when you're only watering every 8 or 9 days, your memory goes. So you're never quite sure how much water it's got, but I can see. Now, this should be repotted right now. It's got this strong new growth pushing up. I can see roots pushing out the bottom of there. It's got another nice new growth starting here. And there's another one somewhere. Yep, and there's another new growth here. So it's got 3 new growths, all of which are going to produce roots. Now is a good time, but I'm still not going to do it because it's cold. The day lengths are so short. This plant is growing so slowly, I don't want to disturb it now. So it's going to wait, and I'll have to put up with that rubbish media, which I really don't like. You might have noticed. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's... I call it an Oncidium type, but it's not. It is and it isn't. If you debate it yourself. But if that's got Miltonia in it, that's its own genus. And it's also got Brassia in it. Well, that's its own genus. But they are both similar to Oncidium, so I still think of them as an Oncidium type. They grow big, nice egg-shaped pseudobulbs, and they have small bracts at the base, followed by often 1 or 2 side leaves and a couple on the top. Well, that's how Oncidiums grow. That's what most of them look like. And you expect the flower spikes to come out here, and that's what they do. But then so do Brassias. Miltonias, I'm not so sure, because although I've got some pure species Miltonias, they haven't bloomed for me yet. Come on, you guys. Anyway, that stays. That's a good plant. I say, that's going nowhere. And I love the blooms on this one. And I've got 3 new growths coming. I do believe this is of the type that only produces 1 spike. You can usually tell if the pseudobulb's got 2 good leaves near the base, it's highly likely to be able to produce a spike out both sides. But when it's only got a bract and 1 good leaf, it's highly likely to only produce 1 spike per growth. But as I've got 1 heading up for maturity, that'll be the next one to bloom if it decides to do so, and 2 new growths at the same stage that should mature roughly together, provided I don't mess them up when I do actually repot it, of course. Anyway, that's what I call a good plant. All the leaves are good. There's not a mark on it. That was a good buy. As soon as I saw that, I thought, I'm having that. One of my favourite blooms and a good plant. Now that's what I'm trying to do this year, is look out for things like that. Blooms that I really like, last a good amount of time, and a really good strong plant. I've had it with seedlings and all the time taken and all that sort of stuff and the trials and tribulations of rescues. I'm not doing it anymore. I have to rationalise. That one stays. I'll film a couple of others as I go round probably, but I'll try not to make this one too long because it's not a blooming one, it's a plant-based one. You know, it's looking at plants and how well they're doing and do they get to stay or not. I've just gone round my ceramis plants. No decisions made on them yet. The only decision I've made on my ceramis plants is they're not staying in it. If I had the big chunky stuff, that may be a different decision, but it's so expensive with the transport and everything, I'm not going down that road. But some of these are coming on slowly but surely, and some of them are just stalled. They're just not doing very well at all. But you know, I mean, that maxillaria there, that's growing well, but you know, I've got others, so that one will probably get gifted on or something like that. But anyway, they're not going to stay in that media. They're going to come back into, you know, my traditional media with the Orchiata bark. It's what I think I'm best at, and you know, I struggle with this stuff. I'm never quite sure whether the pots are wet. I'm never quite sure whether to water them. I can't see the roots. I haven't got a clue what's going on down in the pots. So not for me, I'm afraid. But I mean, you know, this one, it's not a good plant, but I can't lose this one because I can't lose blooms like that last 2 months. With that colour, no way. But this plant is doing a typical Oncidium type thing where it's decided to climb. So most of the good roots that were coming out of the base of that have been lost. Some have got down in the pot. Yeah, I mean, that's sweet sugar. But I don't want to lose the plant. So that goes on the list of try and find a better one. Yeah? Rather than just automatically stick with the one I've got. So we'll see how we go. That's that little bit anyway. On with my watering. And this one stays. This is Peter Comp. And this is more like a true type Oncidium. I wanted to do this one straight away after so you can see the difference. You see this one starts, okay, it's got a little bract type leaf there, but then it's got 2 true leaves, yeah? And it does bloom from both sides. Yeah, that's the old spike down in there, and that's the spike that's currently on there. So that earns its keep. For every new growth, there should be 2 bloom spikes. And I'd keep this one for the fragrance. And I do like the colours, and I do like this plant. It's not the best, and at the moment it's in that muck again. Oh, I'm going to have to repot this, but not now again. I'm going to have to wait. But this has only got 1 new growth that's coming on nicely. Now it's highly likely, again this comes down to long-term experience with the type of plant, even though I haven't had this particular one that long. This growth here is highly likely to push out a new growth once the flowers have gone. There's something in the nature of orchids, down in their genes or something or other, that seems to hold off new growths while it's in bloom. And it's probably just simply a matter of, you know, distribution of energy, and while the blooms are there, that's what it's doing now. When the blooms are gone, there's some sort of reaction in the plant that knows the blooms are over, and so it thinks, I'd better get on and do some new growths and get some more blooms up as soon as possible. That's what my job is. So anyway, that's an Oncidium type that is more true to form. You've still got this sort of egg-shaped pseudobulbs, but 2 true leaves, and when you see that on an Oncidium type, it's highly likely it will bloom from both sides. Just a little trait to watch out for. You know, we love our blooms, but you know, some plants I keep just for the plant. This one I keep, highly fragrant and a delightful fragrance, lovely colours. I mean, this bloom, this spike's just fading now. I always know when these type of blooms are going to fade because the lip changes colour. You see, that is a nice sort of mauvey colour with white. And down here, they're not white anymore, they're yellow. So it's going. It won't be long and that spike will be gone. And then I'll be looking for a second new growth. We'll see how it goes, but that one stays, obviously. And this is another one that definitely stays. This is Encyclia cordigera, but it's a named clone. It's Hyang-yu. I don't think that S is actually pronounced, but then I wouldn't know, would I? But now this is an Encyclia, so although it looks a bit Oncidium-like, it's not. It has no bracts and no leaves until it gets to the top of the pseudobulb, when it has its pair of leaves. That's how this one grows. Yeah? Again, I've only just got this plant, so there's no way that's going. But this was in a real rubbish pot. And a lot of the roots have been trimmed off to make it look tidy. Now that's naughty. But nonetheless, I potted it on. So that's still got a solid ball of moss in the centre there. But I put it in some new media. Now this has got no new growths, but you have to bear in mind where this has come from. This had recently been imported from Thailand. So once upon a time it was in Thailand, not that long ago. And now it's on the south coast of the UK. There's a little bit of difference between those two environments. This plant is in a state of shock. I don't need to know that. I can just say that is in a state of shock. It's going to have to recover and get used to this environment. Now, luckily, you know, we're only 5 or 6 weeks away from getting the decent day length back again and a bit more sunshine, a bit more temperature. So, you know, it'll perk up. But it's got no new growths, but that doesn't mean it's not long for this world. That one has to stay. It's a beauty. I love it. Okay, as I say, I can't take credit for the spikes, only not blasting them. But yeah, that stays. It's a good plant. It's got a good set of bulbs on it, and I'm looking for new growths, but I don't think it's going to produce any until those spikes are over, and boy do they last a long time. So hopefully by the time the spikes are over we get the longer days, and it should trigger this thing back into growth again and get some nice new bulbs. And who knows, because of that dramatic change in environment, the next set of new growths might not produce such good bulbs and may not even bloom. But I'm going to take that risk. There's no way I'm losing that. I've been after that one for a long time. It's a beauty. And fragrant too. Unfortunately, it's living next to that one at the moment, and the fragrance on that is far stronger, so this one loses out. You've got to get in close. But it's still fragrant, lovely colours, and a good plant. I like it. That stays. Now we get on to one this is on the list. This is on the list to go. Now, it's one of my favourite blooms. This is Oncidium Twinkle, the cinnamon one. Lovely fragrance, but boy is that a lousy plant. It never took to the Ceramis. It just didn't like it. Basically, literally the base of the plant was just so wet all the time that, you know, it's set it back. Now, it may perk up after the last couple of blooms have gone. It may not, but it's on the list because I can easily replace it, possibly with a better plant. The leaves have suffered, the base of the bulbs, when I get it out of the Ceramis, they can be cleaned up. All these old sheaths and stuff can be taken off when I can get at it properly. And who knows, I may change my mind. But at the moment, that's on the list to go. Not because I don't like the blooms and I don't like the fragrance, but because I don't like the plant. But when I repot it, who knows, I may change my mind. See, I've got that down as Twinkle Brown. That's what it was sold at, but it's actually cinnamon, it's called. And it is, of all the twinkles, probably one of the better ones. And the little pink one's still lurking at the back there. Anyway, so that's the sort of thing I'm getting at. It's not a good plant. It's got no new growth, no sign of any growth. I haven't got a clue what the roots are like. They might be brilliant, who knows. But until I get that out of the pot, it's on the list. It may come off the list and be kept. Who knows? You're probably fed up with looking at this, but I'm not. I don't think I could ever get fed up with looking at this. So purely because of that, on the top of that spike, this plant has to stay. But as plants go, it's not good. Now this was bought with 3 bulbs as a division off of a specimen plant. And that's my new growth. Bulb slightly smaller than the others, but it bloomed and produced 3 blooms on the spike. This plant won't grow properly, so it's coming off this mount. The new roots that new bulb pushed out just grew about half an inch and stopped. There could be a nasty reason for that, but I don't believe so, bearing in mind where the plant came from. It's highly unlikely. But at the moment, it's not a good plant. Now, having a look at Laelia anceps, this is a funny one. You know, Laelia classed as Cattleya type. But this one's a bit different because this one grows in some strange places. Yes, it's an epiphyte. You can find these growing out in the middle of a field where the soil is really rocky based and there isn't a lot of soil as such. So, you know, a real gritty, rocky type environment. You can find them growing on the ground. It's in full sun. Yeah? So this has a slightly different environment requirement, and quite honestly, that is just far too much moss for the type of plant it is. And that may be why the roots don't seem to go. Now, there could be some little, you know, those tiny little shelled friends that we get lurking every now and again. And it only needs a few tiny little snails to be buried in behind that moss, in those crevices of that lovely gnarly bark, and they'll chew the roots off as they grow. That may be why those roots haven't grown. So that's got to come off of that mount. The mount's got to be totally cleaned, and I may put it straight back on again. But even though that's not a brilliant plant, I can't let it go, because there's no way I want a grow room without those. So that one gets to stay. The Arengus alicei next to it, that gets to stay because although I had some damage on a couple of leaves, that was me. That was in far too high a light for that type of Arengus. Some of them do like high light, but that one doesn't. So that was me. That got a bit singed up near the roof. Far too bright for it. The latest leaf's coming on, and it has pushed out a new root down there. Again, I believe that one's got too much moss on it, so I'll give it a bit of a clean up. And I'm not sure whether these roots really have attached, because most of those roots were already there. And they're not, see, I mean, some of them are actually dead. So I might have to just do a remount on that one. And bearing in mind the flower spike takes a year to develop and then bloom. Blooms last about a month. Fragrance, brilliant, but nighttime. You have to come out here in the dark to smell it. So that's not a perfect plant to keep, and it takes up a lot of space. But I love my Arengus, so that gets to stay. Okay, I'm going to break off there on the grounds that I'm sure I'm clocked up quite a few minutes by now. And this is a series, you know, there will be many parts to this series over the next couple of weeks as I go round all the plants. I'll be moving on to the potted dendrobiums tomorrow, or a lot of them. And, you know, I'll start a new video for that because it's like a new subject, if you know what I mean. Okay, thanks for dropping by. And any suggestions, or anybody wants any of these plants that look like they might be disappearing from my environment or anything like that, you know, make your suggestions. If you disagree with my keeping or getting rid of plants, then do say so, and why, of course. Don't just say it, because I won't take any notice. But, you know, there's reasons. Some people may see something in a plant that I don't see and make it more worthwhile. Or some people might actually say, well, you're wasting your time keeping that because you've got this as well, and you don't need both. Anyway, see what you think. And I'll take this opportunity as well. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's have a good growing year. Let's have some peace in the world, shall we? So I know it's not us causing all the trouble, but, you know, if you've got a mate, give him a dig in the ribs. Oi, stop causing trouble. And let's have some peace. Let's have some tranquility. Let's have some nice orchid growing and a nice time. Okay, and yeah, I'll see you next time. As I say, this is going to be a series. It'll be a set. God knows how many it's going to take to get through them all. But I'm doing it over a period of time. You know, there's not necessarily going to be one every day or anything like that. I'll do it as I get round to it, and we'll see how we go. Somebody suggested, just before I close, that I do a well, just post a video saying, can you give me suggestions for videos? And obviously there hopefully will gradually get a list of comments underneath with suggestions for videos. Somebody else said a questions and answers video, but that sounds more like a live project to me, and I don't plan on doing that. But yeah, any suggestions you've got, you know, they're gratefully received. There's a limited amount of types of videos you can do about orchids, and somebody who may not even do videos themselves might have some brilliant ideas. Don't keep them to yourself. Let's have them out. And, you know, a new idea. It'll be good. So if you've got any ideas lurking in the corners of your mind as we go into a new year, let me know and I'll see what I can do. No promises, but, you know, I'm always open to suggestions. Okay? Right, see you in the next vid. Thanks for dropping by.